Welcome everyone to the third season of the Dying Your Way podcast. I want to start by thanking everyone that has supported this podcast program by subscribing. And we look forward to the third season where we will be bringing you more experts in the field of death and dying, talk about difficult subjects that are very pertinent to any life or death situation, doing a lot of stuff to cover grief and complicated grief, which is so indicative of our times. I mean, it's always been with us, but we will focus a lot on grief and how to support others as they are going through these challenging times. And we will also be talking a lot about access. Dying Your Way was, well, let me just start off by telling you the Dying Your Way story. So in 2005, I left a nonprofit management job that I had in California. Loved the job. And but I left because both of my parents were going south at the same time. Their health was going south. They lived in the South, they lived in Texas, but anyway, their health was declining for different reasons. And I went back to Texas to take care of them. And, I really thought I would be back at work pretty soon. This turned into a 6-year stint of going from having no knowledge, elder care 101, I would say, to after 6 years, really feeling like I had a PhD in death and dying. And both of my parents died at home. They died surrounded by loved ones. They had a lot of support from great hospice teams. And it was a chance for me to learn how important the role of advocacy is at the end of life. And because of that experience, people started coming to me and wanted me to duplicate that same situation for their parents or even for them when they were faced with a life-threatening illness, which of course I was happy to do. Fast forward maybe a few years, I realized that there's a name to the role that I'm providing, and it's an End of Life Doula. And I wanted to expand that role, and I wanted to know what I didn't know. So I sought out a mentor really to teach me. And I found Deanna Cochran, who has quality of life care and a certification program for end of life doulas. This is a calling. It's not for everybody, but I loved every moment of that training. I went on to train with other well-known doulas in this field, Patty Burgess, Suzanne O'Brien, just really studied with the best, learning the best techniques, the best tools of supporting people at the end of life. And it's really been, a labor of love that I have been honored and privileged to be with people and their families when it's the end of their life. I also married during this time, and we traveled a lot. He's Australian, and that's where I am right now. It's summertime. And he was also had family in New Zealand. So we were in family in, Thailand. We traveled a lot. And during that time, I found that I was also still supporting people either by phone, by email, Skype back in the old days. And realized people were still benefiting from my services, even though I wasn't with them. So I had to question my paradigm that I'd been taught and that I had of being with the family and physically being there. And I looked at all of the services in the ways that I provided benefit to people and to their families, and realized 75% of what I do, I can do online. I can certainly do it now through Zoom, which is my main source of supporting people. And it that idea grew from there and grew in developing a very beautiful Dying Your Way website. And it's been an interesting journey. I mean, because there are obstacles in the way, but I think the biggest obstacle is educating people to what the role of a doula is and the concept of a good death, a good dying. I mean, in the Western culture, particularly, we have really outsourced dying to let it become a medical event. And as much as I support medical interventions and palliative care and at the end of life, death is not a medical event. It is anything but a medical event. It needs medical support, but it is a spiritual event. And I don't care if you believe in an afterlife or you believe in a spiritual realm or you believe in, it really doesn't matter to me what anybody believes. What happens when people die is it is a spiritual event. And I have seen good deaths and I have seen horrible deaths. And knowing that there are things that can be put in place prior to when you need it, ideally, that make the difference between a good death and a bad death. Everyone would get on board and learn death literacy. Everybody would get on board and get the professional role of an end-of-life doula. Now, let me talk a little bit about the role of an end-of-life doula because it's misunderstood or not even known about. Doula is Greek, it means servant, and you are serving someone when they are passing away in a capacity that is a witness to the event, holding space for the event, supporting the loved ones in the event in a holistic way. Meaning you are an overseer. Think of a wedding planner, think of a funeral director, think of a birth doula. I mean, you know what a birth doula does. As much as medically possible, as much as legally possible, you will support a dying patient to develop an end-of-life plan of their choosing. It's empowered, which is why we named our business Dying Your Way. If you do an end-of-life plan, the chances are very, very good that you will die your way. And that means different things to different people. But to most people, it means free of pain, free of anxiety, free of fear, surrounded by loved ones, having good quality end-of-life care, not being a burden to your family. And the list is long, but it can be achieved. And I've just seen it. I've supported it. I have, and it's beautiful when it happens like that. So someone at the end of your life will be doing the role of an end-of-life doula. They may or may not be trained in that role. They may or may not have the emotional capacity for that role. They may or may not be following your wishes. But someone at a certain point in a terminal condition, when someone is dying, will be the one calling the shots, and it won't be you. So there are, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking of one of the really bad experiences that I had that was that this patient had. It wasn't me having it, the patient had. And it really was because the spouse did not want to let go. The person dying was so ready to die, and she asked me to actually take the intubation tube out, which of course I could not. And it's would have been very clear if she had, I didn't want to get into the pronouns, but if she had anticipated, well, this was an unexpected event, but if she had an advanced care directive, if she had had a conversation with her spouse, if she had really thought about a cost-benefit ratio of when these amazing medical interventions that can be provided, if it's going to save your life, but it's a certain point, there's a cost-benefit ratio that the cost of trying to prolong a life, and it's different for different people, but it just becomes too great. And then that is where Dying Your Way comes in and supports people to have a natural death, not hastened, not prolonged, but a natural death. The body actually knows how to die. It does. And left to its own devices, and with using medical technology and palliative care, holistic palliative care, it can really be a beautiful thing to see someone die naturally. And that's what we support. You know, we are Dying Your Way is not about offing yourself. It is anything but that. It is about being empowered and making choices for the end of life. So let me just read to you the vision and the mission of Dying Your Way, and that will help. Hopefully you understand why this podcast is so critical to getting the word out for what we want to do. So our vision is that all people are able to experience a conscious and sacred death, free from fear, pain, and anxiety. All people everywhere. Whoa, that's a big vision, but that is the vision that I hold. And every choice that I make is aligned with that vision. And our mission, or how we do that, is to promote, educate, and provide services that will allow for an empowered and natural death while using holistic palliative care to support the dying and their family. So we have many ways that we educate. I speak at many events. I train. I have an end of life training that's online that culminates, it goes through a whole curriculum, but it culminates with creating your own end of life plan. And that doesn't matter if you are the patient, or if you're a family member, or if you're a friend, or you're just curious, or you're a corporate entity and you have many people that are on the training. Everybody in this training takes the position of being the patient and taking responsibility for their own death, their own plan, their own individual preferences. And we all have cultural and religious and emotional preferences that really will affect what your end of life plan is. And I have no dog in the hunt what your plan is inside that plan. I will support it as your end of life doula, whatever you consciously, with capacity, put into that plan, I will support that. And I will advocate to your family and the people that are around you to use that as the map, use that as the rudder to where you're going to go to this very, very sacred event. So we have the website. There's a lot of information that's on the website. There's a free resource center with a lot of links, and we've tried to make it global. So it's not just the United States, it's not just Australia, but it provides links to wherever you are in the world. And we have, okay, I got to talk a moment about the doulas. We provide doula services, and it's a paid thing. I mean, you get a free 30-minute consultation, but you can hire your own doula. And right now I have, besides myself, I have 3 amazing women who are also trained with the same trainers that I've trained with. I would have them to be my own doula. I mean, that's how they are, so good. They're grounded. They've just had years of experience doing what they do, and all have their own angle that makes it even more special. So my goal still is to have a certified doula of that quality globally in every time zone. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, that you can contact a certified doula that knows ways to support you and your family at the end of life. So the end of life training, the Doula Services are available online all the time, educating through speaking and holding death cafes. I also am a hospice volunteer where I live. And yeah, it's good to know wherever you are, it's good to know your local community and what kind of services are available to you. And promoting death literacy, that is where I think as a Western society, maybe Eastern too, I mean, I would definitely say a Western society promoting death literacy because of the outsourcing that we have done to, so it's really removed and it's sanitized for us. Many people, when they get needing a higher level of care, they're put in a nursing home and aren't allowed to come back home. And, that's the appropriate thing for some people, particularly when it comes to a patient's safety and well-being. But I know 80% of us, Stanford Medical Survey, 80% of us want to die at home. And I even see this here. There is a real push to bring the palliative care services that are typically in a hospital setting or in a facility setting, taking those services to the community, to the home. Now, things need to be in place like community nursing, having an end-of-life doula that comes to you, using telemedicine. That's just been a game changer, and if people don't know to ask for this, how would you ask for something you don't know about? So it's really our job to get the word out and to get it out globally. You can't lead a horse to water and make them drink, but there is so much good information out there that will make such a difference. And that's why the podcast is so important to me, because I'm always learning new things. And I have learned something from each guest that I have had that has expanded my vision of end-of-life care, my understanding of end of life, my cultural awareness of end of life, and really also seeing where it could be done better, where the gaps are. And as an end of life doula, that's one of my main roles, is to, I come in with a checklist and I size up the situation. I talk to the patient, I talk to the families, and I see where the gaps in service are. And I try to fill those gaps with social services, perhaps. Maybe it's clergy, maybe it's medical advocacy. It could come in a lot of different forms, but where doulas really have a strength, because they are focused on end of life care, they know where those transitions are going to happen, that they will happen, and they prepare for it before they're needed. So if there's anything that is a great benefit to working with someone who is not just thinking with a medical hat on, although I am aware of many medical aspects of dying, or thinking of the legal aspects. I'm not a lawyer, but boy, do I make sure that people have an advanced care plan in place, and they have a medical power of attorney named, and they understand that a will absolutely needs to be in place, and a named executor or executrix. I mean, these are things that you know about in sort of a piecemeal fashion, but a doula is going to bring the whole picture to you and just say, this is what we're looking at here, and these are the choices. These are my recommendations, but what works best for you? What are your preferences? And sometimes that takes some work, just to get people to articulate what their preferences are, not what they think the preferences of their family would be, but really what are their preferences. And again, the thing I hear more than anything is that they just want to be at home. So that's another area that I'm very fascinated in, is public policy around end of life care. Having traveled to many countries and seeing different medical systems, I see strengths and weaknesses in all countries where it could be better. There's a mayor in Albany. Maybe I can get him on this year. Albany's a town down south in Southwest Australia, and he has an aging population. And with that in mind, he made sure that building codes in his city changed so that all new builds were built to be handicapped access, that a wheelchair could go in and out, that the toilet seats were high, that grab bars were in place, that it was creating a situation of aging in place that, again, most people don't think about it until the last minute. But you can be middle-aged and really appreciate having a high toilet. I mean, it's just, it's actually kind of fun to have these conversations. There's Michael Hebb, who I did an interview with last season before last, I don't remember, but he created Death Over Dinner. And again, I highly recommend it, because you can go and for free and download, scripts and, party plans and stuff, and actually have a dinner party combining food and social gatherings to have a dinner party where people are talking about death, and it can actually be entertaining and enjoyable. And so, whether it's Death Over Dinner, the girls that do the death deck, I mean, there's so many good resources out there now that really, and I've had many of them on as my guests, so it's a topic that should not be put off to the last minute. And I think if I want to get across to you anything, is how important it is to not wait until you need it to get these plans in place. We don't make our best choices when we are in a high emotional state. We make our best choices when something's really not urgent. It's important, but it's not urgent. I talk about the Eisenhower Matrix a lot. We want to be looking at the end of life, which we will all go through. May not be, it could be quickly, but 79% of us are going to die of a slow, progressive illness, which will be managed by the wonderful medical care that we have until we reach what's called a terminal condition, where it's not going to improve, and really curative treatments aren't the best option. I mean, you can still choose to do that, but that's how most of us will die. So it really behooves us all to put plans in place, however we die, whatever age we die, wherever we are, to mitigate fear, pain, and anxiety. And that's the main thing I just wanted to share with you, is about dying your way and about what the role of an end of life doula is. And I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have. You can just contact me through info@dyingyourway.com. I encourage you to go to the website to download the free ebook. There's it's got a lot of really great information, but you can really, there's a difference between showing a good death and a bad death. And that can be very eye-opening for many people just reading that. Like I say, there's an end of life training. It takes about at least 6 weeks to complete it, but it's the value of it is, it's $497 US right now. And that is a great value for making an informed decision about your end of life care. And it really encourages you to have conversations with your family, with your doctors, with your lawyers, with the people that are part of what we call your team, that will be supporting you at the end of life. So I really encourage everyone to take the training, go online. It's the best money you'll ever spend. But certainly, if you are looking at a life-threatening situation, I encourage you to do that sooner rather than later. And there's a money-back guarantee. If you get no value from it, just let us know. And more than anything, just remember that death it can really be just an amazing event. And for those of you that have actually been there and seen someone pass away in these circumstances that I'm talking about, that peace that passes all understanding. It's there. I don't care if you believe or not, it is there. And that's my wish for you, for all of us, that we have an understanding that we are all connected, and we are all connected through love. And that never dies. Never, ever. So thank you so much. And I look forward to you subscribing to our podcast and listening to the great shows that some of them I've already done, but that will be coming to you this year through Dying Your Way. And just wish you a wonderful, wonderful 2022. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much.